Hey folks, Pallet here, back with another Minecraft video. If this is your first visit to my channel, welcome in. If you've seen some of my videos before, welcome back. And to all of you, I'm glad you're here. Now, I've been working on quite a few projects over the last several weeks. Unfortunately, none of them are really right here in my original village. Almost everything I've been working on has been in my new city, which is, oh, I don't know, a few hundred blocks that direction, maybe a few thousand blocks that direction. A lot of my projects have been split up into two things, and I guess you could really split almost everybody's projects up into two things. I've got some farms that I've been building to provide a little bit of automation over there. And I've also just been doing some basic structure building to kind of build up the shape of my city. So we're going to take a quick trip over to that direction, roughly off there somewhere, kind of past the clock tower and straight on till morning. And we're going to see a little bit of what I've been working on lately. So because I like to have a kind of a high point of reference so that you can get a good idea of how things are laid out, we're just going to take a moment here at the top of my lighthouse, which if you haven't seen, I covered that last video or the video before. And we've got our lighthouse island right below us here with our dock, our uh, our dock area over here for the main city. And you can just see the outlines of the warehouses. So I've been doing a bit of work in the city itself. The farms that I've been working on have mostly been off in this direction because I was fortunate enough, did not really plan this out. It was just something I discovered while I was exploring the area where I was building my city. I found that off to the west, there are two ocean monuments relatively close to my city. And so one of my big projects recently has been draining the first of those ocean monuments completely, walling it in, draining all the water, and then using it for raw materials to start building up my city, using some of that prismarine, some of those sea lanterns, that sort of thing. So we're going to take a quick sleep down here so we can get back to daytime. And then I want to show you a bit of the progress as I've been draining that and some of the building projects that we've been putting in its place. So a quick sleep here. And a quick transition off to the west. And we will talk a little bit about this whole draining project that I've been working on. As you can see, I've already partially drained this ocean monument. And I'm not doing anything really inventive to get rid of the water here, but I'll show you my process. I've got a section, or a group of cells up here that are each 3 by 6. So I drop a sponge and mine it up. Of course, I have gotten rid of the Elder Guardians long before I ever started working on this. I found that this size of cell works really nicely for just alternating sides with the sponges to clear everything out. I had tried some larger ones earlier, trying to make do with less sand, and it did not lend itself to easy sponge absorption. So once we've got that completely drained in the cell, let's just make sure, yeah, we're facing the right direction. And we'll break out a block of sand and quickly toss a torch in its place so that all of the other sand breaks as it falls. Don't forget my torches. Now, every cell, every 1 or 2 cells, when I get them drained, I come over here to where I've set up a little bench space. There's a guardian bouncing around somewhere, probably right in there. And we put the wet sponges in to dry out, and we drop off our sand. Let's see if we can find this guy. I don't know if you can hear him, but there's one flopping around in here somewhere. There he is. So that is the process that I've been using to slowly drain this entire ocean monument. I don't know that anybody really wants to watch an entire video of nothing but me placing sand and then draining out cells of water, but, you know, if you do, leave me a comment. Tell me you want to see it. There's another ocean monument not far off that direction. I can make you a video just of the entire draining process, but I just kind of wanted to give you an idea of how I'm going about it and show you the progress I've made so far. And then once we get this all the way down, we've got some building projects in mind in here that we'll continue on with. So one quick transition later, and we've got the whole area drained. I've even got some farms in place, and the beginnings of a nice little chest monster. But there's still a lot of work to do. We've got to finish up the walls. We need to make this look maybe just a little bit more livable down here. So let's see what we can do about that. And there we go. That looks a lot better. We still, of course, have a little bit of a chest monster. I haven't cleaned everything up yet, but let's take a look around. First, and kind of central to this whole build, is this nice little guardian farm. Now, this guardian farm is based off of a general design by Iskall85 of Hermitcraft fame, and I followed a tutorial by YouTuber That Moonshine, who really stepped me through the whole process really nicely. Tutorial was very easy to follow and worked like a charm. And as you may be able to see, I know it's a little bit tough, especially with the distances involved here, but we've got a couple of tanks of water that have soul sand at the bottom to make almost the entire tank one giant bubble vader. At the top, there's a kind of a one layer of water that all pours towards the middle. And then that water drains into this central column so that as guardians spawn, they float straight up, back down into the middle where they have a long enough drop that it kills them, and we can harvest all of their drops really easily. Now, of course, I don't get any experience out of this. This is not a farm designed for experience. This is designed more for the resources. We're just going to drop down here. I made a kind of an express lane down. And you may have heard that last guardian fall to his death. They fall down here right onto these hoppers and die. And then I've just got a series of hoppers and chests coming down. This could be dressed up quite a bit. For the moment, I needed it to work. I didn't need it to look pretty. It's hidden underground. I just needed it to work. And with some of the other projects that I've been building here in this area, I've had a chance to collect quite a few resources so far. I've actually got some of these upper chests a little full already just because I built I kind of expanded this in stages. But that's giving me enough prismarine that I'm going to be able to kind of have a renewable supply of prismarine bricks, prismarine blocks, use those as I continue to build in my city. I'm trying to kind of keep a little bit of an ocean-themed color going on, color palette going on in my city, and so I am using a fair bit of prismarine in my houses there, and we'll see that when we get over to that part of the tour here today. But once I completed this, I had wanted to set an AFK spot up top so that as I was doing some of my other builds, I would have someplace safe from phantoms where I could just hang out and let some guardians spawn in, and I wound up placing my beacon up here. And this is the only thing that really bugs me, was that the plan for this guardian farm was based on an even number of blocks, and so my odd number of blocks in the beacon, it doesn't line up in the middle. It's off a block there. You can't line up odds and evens, and that bugs me a little bit, but it doesn't bug me enough to have to rebuild everything. So we've got that build, and that one did take a little time. Of course, the greatest amount of time was just draining this entire area and then draining the interior of the ocean monument. And I used a lot of the bricks from that ocean monument to build this. But like I said, now we've got kind of a renewable resource of prismarine. The next thing that I found out as I was working on that, I kept seeing some slimes that spawned in the area. Occasionally, as I was draining and tearing down the ocean monument, I would hear that telltale sound of slimes hopping around and go and collect some slime balls. So I took a look out at Chunk Base and found out that within my walls here, I had 2 slime chunks. So I've got one completed slime farm, and it doesn't look like a whole lot because, it really isn't a whole lot. It is a series of floors here. Goes down 8 floors with some iron golems in little niches. And then you can see down at the bottom, we've got some streaming water and a platform of magma blocks. Now, the way this is supposed to work is that as slimes spawn in here, and slimes can spawn, I believe, at any light level, they are supposed to aggro on the iron golems and try to hop over here to them. And it does work if they can see the iron golems, or at least it seems to. Part of the problem is that I didn't space the iron golems out quite right, quite exactly to where one iron golem will attract slimes from two different floors. I need to go back and kind of adjust those, but for the moment, it's working well enough. So the slimes will see the iron golems, they'll hop off trying to get to them. They'll either fall on the magma blocks or they'll fall in the water and get pushed to the magma blocks. Then the rest of that is kind of hidden at the moment. We'll get down there from the other side because I did leave an access tunnel down there. And while we're heading over this direction, you see I've got a little one tucked here. I will just say that this is the Easy and Efficient Slime Farm by Waddles. So when we climb down this ladder, this takes us to the collection spot. And you can kind of get the idea of what's going on here. We have, under the magma blocks, some powered rails and a hopper minecart that just picks up any slime balls that collect there. And we've already gotten quite a few stacks of slime. And this was also right near an underground aquifer. And, well, I'll show you. Aside from this being a great place for glow squid to spawn, it also happened to be right on top of a geode. And so I've got some easy access to amethyst when I need it. But then the geode on one side opened up onto an abandoned mine shaft. Now I've cleared out some of the wood from this mine shaft. It's part of kind of how I track and keep from getting lost is I clear out a lot of the supports and then I use the individual fences to mark my directions. Kind of trailblazing marks. Nothing really complex or unique. It's just an item that's easy to find down here, so I don't have to really pack a lot of anything with me when I want to explore, and I can just continue getting oak fence posts. But no, like I said, this slime farm could be a little bit more efficient than it currently is, but it's giving me more slime than I need at the moment, and so I'm pretty happy with it. Now, I mentioned that there were actually 2 slime chunks in this area, and I've got another one tucked under this hill, and I actually just heard a slime hopping around. This slime chunk is about, I'd say 75% complete. I've got one more floor to carve out, and then I need to carve out the kind of drop zone for them, where they'll fall down and have their loot collected. So, but this is just one I've been kind of working on in between other things, especially if I start running a little bit low on stone or another resource. I'll come over here, clear out another floor. And now that night's falling, you can see how well lit up my walls are. And of course, that's one of the other big things that I worked on, was pulling out the sand and replacing it with glass blocks. And in fact, next to my chest monster, you probably saw that I've got a little smelting station. Every time I would put a couple of rows of glass down, I would take the sand from there, put it back in the smelter, get it going. Of course, I had a fair bit of sand to start off with just from the project of draining this whole area. So I had a jump start on the glass that I needed, but took a few days off and on of just getting glass made and dropping it in place, and then going back and doing just a little bit of decorating, a little bit of, putting in some light sources, that sort of thing. And these were all sea lanterns that I got from demolishing the ocean monument that was here. Now, one of the other farms that I kind of wanted to have in this area, just because I just don't have really easy access to a lot of skeletons at the moment. I haven't found any skeleton spawners nearby, so I needed some bone meal. And I found a plan for a bone meal farm, and we can't really see the whole thing here at the moment at a glance because I've got it walled in. But this was the Moss and Bone Meal Farm by Basic Redstone on YouTube. And it is a nice, efficient, compact redstone build that I kind of understand. Not perfectly, but we've got, you'll notice, hoppers on this end with flowing water coming out of a dispenser. The redstone is set up so that it triggers one of, three different circuits, I think. One circuit bone meals an existing moss block, and it changes all of this stone into moss. And then it bone meals it again, so it grows the azaleas, the moss carpets, that sort of thing. Then it has a circuit that pushes forward any stone blocks that are created by the lava interacting with some waterlogged blocks underneath there. And then the third circuit kind of turns the water on and off. It triggers the dispenser to dispense the water or to pull it back in. So we'll get everything bone mealed, we'll get the moss products that grow. Then these stone blocks kind of along this edge will push forward and start breaking the stone blocks. And then the water will turn on and it'll push them all in here. And I can turn it on and we'll see. Occasionally I have to turn it off and on a couple of times just to get it to work perfectly. It is kind of noisy. I'll give you a fair warning on that. We can see those stone blocks advancing. We can see the bone mealing occurring, and then the water coming out at times and pushing all of the drops into those hoppers. Now, those hoppers do go in different directions. One of them feeds into here, which holds the bone meal that runs the farm, so it kind of feeds itself. The rest of the drops go into these chests over here. And this one I kind of organized just to make it easier to find what I needed for landscaping. This is the chest that I've been pulling things out of to actually turn into moss. Now, I could change these out for more composters and probably change this chest out for a composter, and then everything that comes through would get changed into bone meal. But I actually like the flexibility of deciding how much to keep and how much to change over. So I just built a small bone meal machine right here. Any excess moss or any other products that, I get from there, any of the azaleas or the seeds or anything like that can just come in here, get fed down in, and I can have a nice little easy supply of bone meal. And then, of course, I pointed out that I've got a little bit of a double smelter going on here that's keeping me supplied in glass, which for the moment, I think I'm kind of good on glass. But then the last thing that I built was a small home here. Instead of taking the stone all the way down to kind of the same level as we see the glass walls over here, I wanted to leave some of this stone wall just because I liked how it looked. I liked the way it kind of sloped up and around, but I wanted a home. I wanted someplace where I could keep some of my storage, I could sleep if necessary, and so I went and got some warped wood to kind of keep with the kind of bluish greenish theme that we've got going on down here. Which, if I have not mentioned it before, um, I am colorblind, and so these may not match to anybody. I frequently have to ask my wife or my kids if the color gradients, the color palettes that I'm looking at work, and actually we see some here that I was playing around with a little bit. Two different palettes just divided right down the middle here. We've got one here and we've got one here. Actually, no, those are, yeah, yeah. They're the same except for how tarnished I allowed the copper to get. But yeah, so I frequently have to ask for some help. So yeah, if you're looking at this and you're saying, well, it doesn't really quite match up with the prismarine, I understand that. I recognize that. Um, to my eyes right now, I just kind of like the look of it, and I thought it fit in well with being a kind of a subterranean slash underwater sort of theme. But we've got this nice glass wall that fronts the whole place, and we walk in here to a nice cozy little apartment under the ocean. And I've got between the two workbenches that I have out here, I think I've got pretty much everything I could need in here. Aside from a blast furnace, a regular furnace, and a smoker, we've got a small enchanting setup here, which is slowly being hidden behind some vines. We've also got our brewing stand right there. And we've got a bit of storage down here on the first floor. And up here, not much of a bedroom, but, it's a place to sleep and plenty more storage. Now, I haven't put up a plaque yet to give credit here. This wasn't exactly a tutorial that I followed, but I took some inspiration from a build that I saw on the Minecraft Bench Instagram site. He built something very similar to this, a bit more polished, I think, than mine is. He also built it, he or she or they, I'm not sure, but they built it on a slightly bigger scale. I was working under some constraints here because about the time I removed some of these blocks, I had sand falling in, and it was quickly followed by water from the ocean above. So, had to make it a little bit smaller, make some concessions. This little detail was one that I saw in that design on Minecraft Bench, and I really liked it. I liked how it just kind of gave a little extra, depth to the decoration there by having it inset and using that amethyst to provide a little extra color in here, as well as like having the amethyst crystals. Now, of course, I do still need to clean up the chests that I've got here full of building materials, and I will most likely move my smelting station to someplace that's not just kind of out in the middle. And once I've done that, I have some plans to maybe add a few buildings down here, maybe a couple of houses, nothing major, but to make it a nice little spot where maybe I could bring in a couple of villagers and have them start populating in here a bit. On top of that, and literally on top of that, I'm hoping to maybe build a small dock on one side of this, and I'm thinking about maybe on this side or over here on the far side from my little apartment. Have a dock so that if you don't have an elytra, we'll have an elevator or a staircase or a ladder or something that will allow you to get in and out. While my daughters and I think my son as well, all have elytra. My wife does not, and she really has not been terribly concerned about getting one. She likes to make her way around by boat or by walking, and so I'm thinking we may just put a small dock up here with a way to get down into the main area without just dropping and dying. But yeah, so this is where I've been building most of my farms the last couple of weeks. I have one more farm that I've built, and it is over here next to the city. And you'll already see, if you've been watching some of my previous videos, you can see some things here that are new and some people here that are new. This was the other farm that I built, and it was a farm in a couple of senses. It is a crop farm, but I've got a couple of villagers in there that are constantly harvesting and then hopefully giving the crops to each other, and then eventually they pop out a little baby villager. And I evidently did not put up a sign to talk about who I got this idea from. I'm going to have to look that up and put it in the notes down below. But what'll happen is, you see, we've got trapdoors here at the ground level, as well as one up there. That one up there makes that space too short for the villagers to come through, but not for the baby villagers. The baby villagers will try to get to one of these beds. They'll fall down that hole, bounce on the slime so they don't get hurt, and then walk up these stairs, and hopefully go find a bed in one of the new houses that I've been built. I did put a gate in here so that I can close it off in case I get too many villagers for whatever reason. I can kind of close them in and halt the flow of baby villagers coming out. So far it hasn't been a problem, but I figured it's better to be prepared. So let's come over here and we will take a look at some of these houses that I've been working on. So here are the warehouses for the dock area. And I wanted the houses near the dock to maybe be a little... I don't really want to say like a slum, but I didn't want them to be the rich, super fancy houses. This is the first one that I built. Notice no glass in the windows over here. These people just probably are a little too poor to afford nice glass in their windows, but we've got a prismarine floor. We got a little spot for a bed. We got a spot here so that we can have a couple of librarians, and of course that guy just didn't really give me a good trade at all. Little spiral staircase that leads up to the upper floor with another bed, and a fisherman that just loves hanging up next to that barrel. And then just an upper balcony here. Nothing really fancy, and of course we've got a roof that's made out of prismarine. And then right here, we've got a laundry line stretching across the road between these two buildings, with the family's clothes being hung out to dry for the day. So we're going to go back downstairs. And so yeah, not really anything fancy here. I haven't done a whole lot of interior decorating. It's more, again, of a functional building than something super fancy. But then we've got this kind of conjoined building over here. And we will come in. We've got plenty of workstations for the villagers to attach to in here. Upstairs, we've got a couple of beds, some bookcases, storage, and evidently a little impromptu meeting going on. And, excuse me. And a tiny little balcony here with the other side of the laundry line. I'm actually kind of impressed, because the last time I was up here, I didn't have any villagers that were actually coming up the ladder to use those beds. So, oh, hello, trader. So I'm glad that they've finally figured out that they can climb that ladder and get up there. So the other side of this building here, let me just see if he's got anything interesting. Some dyes, nothing that I really need. So again, this building, I haven't done a lot of decoration yet, but we've got... come on in. Yeah, make yourself at home. We've got a little brewing stand here and a small keg. And we've got a double bed in here with some storage available. Let's see if we've got any villagers upstairs here. We do. They are figuring out the ladders. So up here we've got more kind of brewing area. And using some sea pickles as kind of tumblers there for people to put their drinks in. And then the balcony that kind of fits between those two homes. And up here in the attic, oh, we've even got a fisherman in the attic. See, we've got a little bed for whoever drew the short straw and has to sleep in the cramped attic. And of course, we got plenty of storage up here using barrels. Now, on the other side here, we've got another house that kind of just butts up against that one, with a couple of camels on the front porch, just because you always need camels on your front porch. And again, basic kitchen, got a cauldron and a furnace, and we've got a bedroom here. I do want to do some more detail work in here, just kind of liven the space up a bit. It's very plain with the spruce walls and all of that at the moment, but the outsides I'm pretty happy with. The insides I just need to do a little bit more work. And then here in the corner, we've got some straw bales. So now on this side, I have built a small outdoor cooking area. So we've got a nice little oven going here. We've got smokers, we've got furnaces, we've got cauldrons, and we usually do have some villagers that are just kind of hanging out here. And then this building, although we we can probably do this in the twilight without too much trouble. Well, I am going to drop an extra torch over here, and maybe one here. So I wanted to build kind of a longhouse, maybe a dormitory style building, a building that has a fair number of beds in it, so that all of the villagers that our farm here is generating could have beds to attach to. So I got the basic structure of this down, and I wanted to do something unique for the roof, and I thought, I remembered reading some accounts and seeing some pictures of old, not really longhouses, but longer, narrower homes that were built in Northern Europe, around the British Isles, that sort of thing, where they may have taken a boat and turned it upside down and kind of used that as the roof of the house. And so it's a little tough to see. I couldn't get it as detailed as I would have liked, just because of the scale that I was using here. But we've got roughly an upside down boat shape with kind of the prow here, and on the other side, where they may have had an older boat that was used to help settle this area, and they were using all the resources they had, so that got turned upside down and became the roof here. And again, we've just kind of got dormitory style in here. That kid is about to fall out of bed. Well, he'll learn. And so we've got beds with storage, and a cat got lost in here. You suppose he would let us feed him some fish, or is he just gonna continue freaking out? Hey there, kitty. There we go. Now we have a house cat. I don't know that I've ever had that work on the first fish. So, and up here, we've got a few beds as well, and some beds over there. We've got a nice view out of the ocean. And in fact, we're going to go ahead and sleep and see the rest of this in daylight. There we go. So yeah, very basic again on the inside. I just needed something to accommodate my villagers. I'm pretty happy with how the outside of it turned out. I think even with the limitations I had of the space, that I really like how that roof turned out. It's not the same sort of roof that I would normally build, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. Don't know that I'm going to try another one just like it anytime soon. It was a lot of trial and error, but I think it looks good. And then you'll see that we've got some foundations laid over here for some more buildings. I've got some kind of big plans for maybe slightly more upscale row houses over here, townhome style accommodations where we can have a few longer, narrower houses that are all kind of pushed up against one another, sharing some roof lines, sharing, oh, hey, a couple more babies. We will let them out to explore. But that's going to be one of my next building projects, is getting this section of the city started. And eventually, I'm probably going to have to either relocate this farm or just get rid of it completely. I think we have hopefully hit a point of my village being somewhat self-sustaining with regards to villager births, but you never can tell. It's always nice to have a few villagers ready to go in case I want to do something like put a couple in boats and take them over to my my farm area, my guardian farm. I still have not completed this ship project. That's still it's still one that I'm kind of looking at and seeing how I need to continue shaping it from here. But I'm going to be doing some more work on that. And of course, we have a whole huge section here of land. This is just what we've marked out. But we've got all of this that we can expand into to build this city. Hopefully have it built up and pushing right against these peaks and maybe incorporate them as well. But that is my city update. Thank you for coming along on this tour and exploring with me. I hope you enjoy what you've seen and that maybe it gives you some ideas of things that you could do in Minecraft. If you have any questions or comments, please go ahead and leave those below. I love hearing from people, and I love learning from other people's perspectives on how to add new things to my buildings. So thank you so much for joining me today, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.